Hello and welcome to part 2 of this review, setup and general drool over this new controller by SmartShow, the Pro-One. In the first video I went through the unboxing and the basic setup and connecting it to power of the Pro-One, and I thought this time I'll go through a little bit more in depth of the setup and the things that you can do on it. But what we first of all need to do is to get an update on this, because a new update is available. So let's go over to the PC, and you see that we're on the PC now. So let's just do a quick ping to make sure that we can see the controller okay, and it was 1.200 into it. So there it is, and it's pinging away quite nicely. So we can see that there, that's okay. So we have it powered via the USB cable, and that's quite important because what we're going to do next is via the USB port. So when you've got it plugged into USB, you need to check to see what port it's on. Now I'm on a Windows machine at the moment, but you can do this on a Mac as well. You go into Device Manager, you go into Ports, and there is our controller plugged into there. It's coming up as COM7. So we need to remember that for when we do the actual upgrade of the software. Let's have a quick look at the software. And let's go into the controller, and we can look onto this, and we'll tell you at the moment we're on a Pro-One version 0.07, and we need to upgrade this to version 8. Now if you just bear with me for 1 second, I'm going to just go onto my PC. And yeah, there we go. Right, just I'll drag that over so you can see it. There we go. So this is in my folder, and as you can see, I've got quite a few versions here. Version 7 is the one that I've got at the moment, and version 8 is what we're going to upgrade it to. So let's go on into that folder. When you get an updated updated firmware, you'll get a zip file. Now SmartShow will release these via an email link or a download from the website. At the moment it's just a link that they send us, and you can download it, but you download the zip file, and all you simply do is you unzip it into this folder, which I've already done. So there's the files there, and you just unzip it and you get all these files as well. And all we do is we simply run the bat file or the batch file that is in that folder. So it's asking us which port it's on, and it's bringing up the 3 COM ports that we've got on my machine at the moment. We know we're on COM7, so let's go to COM7. We just type in 7, press enter, and off it goes. So now it's updating it, and if we look at the top of the screen while it's updating it up here, you can see that the firmware that we're updating it to is 0.8. It's doing the update now. Look, it's got the to 100%, and it's finished, and we can press any key, and as you can see on the other video feed, that it's done a reboot as well. So let's go back into it. We're still showing 7 at the moment, so let's do a refresh of the page, and there it is. It's now showing as version 8. So that's okay. There's one other quick thing I will show you while we're on this screen. If we go into device settings, you'll see a reset to factory defaults just there. Now I'm going to show you what happens when you tick that. So we're going to tick that, we're going to press apply. It comes up with are you sure, so we'll tick that and say yes again, and we can apply that. Now again, on the controller, as you can see, it's doing a reboot, and the screen has gone into a sort of a waiting mode while the device reboots. Okay, so now that's back up again, so let's click the link to restart. Now this is what I was going to say, it stays on the firmware version that you're currently on. So when you do a factory reset or a factory default, it doesn't reset it back to the firmware that your controller was on when you received it. If you wanted to go back to a previous version, then contact SmartShow and they can send you a link to a previous version. But what that factory default does is just defaults all the settings within the software. So for example, if you change the IP numbers or if you set up the different configuration, it's that it resets, not the firmware. And last thing we can do on here is reboot the device itself. So let's just quickly do that and show you what happens. Exactly the same as what happened after we did the update. It just restarts. It does like a soft restart on it. Give us the IP number. And then once it's restarted, we can click the link and it goes back into it again. Okay, so there's something else that you ought to be aware of as well while we're in here. So on the back of the controller are the contacts or the screw connections for connecting to your lights. And there are a couple of different options that you need to be aware of. So let's go into the UI at the moment, and if we go to output configuration, you will see that we've got 16 U or 16 universes here. We've also got 32 U or 32 universes there. At the moment we're in 16 U configuration, and because we're in the 16U, we can access the web page to go into this setup without any problems. Now there is a catch though, that if you go into the 32 universe mode, so we're going to that now and we apply that, and the device reboots as normal. Okay, so that's rebooted, and we try and go to the UI again. It can't. It says it can't be found. That's because the graphical interface or the UI is not available while it's in 32U mode. That's because of the processing power. So what you have to do is on the controller, is on the little joystick on the left hand side, is press it and keep it pressed until it changes to a C, and that means it's in configuration mode. And when we refresh the page, you'll see that these settings are now available. If we go into output configuration again and go into 16U mode and we apply that, and the device reboots, okay, and we go into the IP again. There we go, and then we're back into that mode. So it's only when you're in the 32 universe mode, this mode here, that you have to put the controller itself into configuration mode to access the web UI for the changes. Right, why are we looking at a couple of instruction manuals? Well, it's to demonstrate the next section. What we're going to be looking at is the DMX setup, and we're going to link the controller to XLights, and we're going to get a couple of DMX lights working. But just a quick note about the two sets of lights that I'm using. So I'm using these Slimline 5Q5 LED lights, and I've got these in a particular mode called, just turn the page over for you. So these are put in 7-channel DMX mode, and what that allows me to do is control each individual, I hope you can see that all right, each individual part of the LEDs. So channel 1, for example, is the master dimmer. So if you've got the red, green and blue, all three of them up, the master dimmer will control the dimmer of all the lights. Channel 2 controls the strobe. Channel 3 is the red, then the green, then the blue, then the white. and then 7, it's got some sort of fade effects that are built in. So we're going to ignore 7 for the time being, and we're just going to use channels 1 to 6. So that is the sort of standard, I kind of call this a floor light or a spotlight or a stage light, something like that. So we're going to have a look at that on the floor in a moment. And the other light I'm going to show you is a moving headlight. This is like a generic Chinese ones that you can buy from eBay, but again, I'm going to put this into, that's the German version. We don't want the German version. Okay, so this is what we're in. We're on the, sorry, there we go. Right, so we're going to have this on the 9-channel output. So channel 1 is a pan, channel 2 is a tilt, channel 3 is a strobe, 4, 5 and 6 and 7 is the red, green, blue and white. Channel 8 is an interesting one. So the higher the value, the slower the pan and the tilt is. So that controls the speed. Channel 9 is the reset. We're just going to ignore that one for the time being. So that is the channels that we're going to use for our LED lights. So that's the moving head, and that is the normal type of light as well. So let's have a look at those on the floor. So as promised, these are the lights on the floor. We've got the 2 moving heads, one on the left, one on the right, the floor lights or the spotlights if you like, in the middle, and we've got our controller down there connected to them as well. So just a quick note about the cables. So the cables are important. These are DMX cables. They are not microphone cables. I know a lot of people say that microphone cables can be used for DMX, but these can't because they are connected to the controller down there via the plus and the ground, and the plus, minus and the ground. So it's very important you get them right. Okay, let's head over to the PC and let's see what we've got to do to go through setting this up on XLights and testing the lights that we've got set up on the floor. First of all, just double check to make sure that the controller is actually switched on and connected to the network. Yep, there it is. So we've got a response back from the controller. That's good. Right, let's go into the actual controller itself then. Oops. Okay, so there we go, and at the moment we've got the setup. Where's it gone? There it is. We've got the setup as the 16U or 16 universe pixels setting at the moment. What we're going to do, we're going to change it into DMX mode. Just there, look, it says DMX node. Okay, so we just simply click on that and we press apply. Now we just have to wait a few seconds for the device to reboot. Then we'll just click on the link and we're back in there. Now you'll notice that there's actually less options here now because we're in DMX mode. And those observant of you will also notice that we're now on version 10. Beginning the video, we've upgraded to version 8. There's been an update since then, and I'm now on version 10. Okay, so the protocol that we're on is still ArtNet, which is fine, and the configuration we've got is DMX, and we're going to use that to control our lights. Right, talking of which, we need to go into some software called XLights. Right, what we'll do is I've got a folder. So I've got a folder called xtest01, empty at the moment. So we'll minimize that down. Let's go into XLights itself. And there we go, it's loading up now. And what's going to happen is I've already got it pointing to the folder just there, and you'll see in a second. Right, I just need to resize this so you can see it. Right, okay, so you can see at the moment I've got it in test 1, which is there, look. You can change it by clicking the button here, but I've got it in test 1. Now, as you can see, the software has already made some folders and some files for us, but as you can see, there's nothing in here at the moment. It's completely blank. Right, let us start adding in the controller. So we're going to go to Add Ethernet, and we're going to call it a Pro-One -01. Now, the reason why I've put the 01 on the end of it is because there's 4 outputs for the DMX. Okay, what we'll do then is give it the IP address. The protocol we're using for ours is ArtNet, and the start universe is 1, and the universe count is also 1. That's all we need to do on this. So the next thing we need to do is add another one. So let's go to Add Ethernet, and we'll call it Pro-One -02. Give it the IP number 192.168.1.200, and we change that to ArtNet. Now, this is the second DMX channel that we're going to do, so the start universe needs to start at 2. The universe count stays at 1, but the start universe is 2. And we simply do that for the rest of them. Okay, so we've added those in now. Let's just move that bar across. Can we move that bar across so you can see? No, let's scroll across then. There we go. So can we make this a little bit bigger so you can see? There we go. It goes off the edge of the screen, but you can see. So we've got first channel there on the IP, and the universe is 1. Second one there, IP is number 2. Third one is number 3, fourth one is number 4, and the start universes is set down here, so you need to make sure that those are set. And my apologies, but my OCD, we've got 3 capitals and 1 lowercase, so let me just quickly change that, otherwise I'll start to panic. Right, okay, that's those done, so let's save that. The next thing we need to do is to go to layout. Okay, so on the layout, what we need to do is add in 4 DMX lights. So over the side here you can see it says create new DMX. Now if you see this, you can see floodlight, area, moving head, moving head. Now I found those down here, the school server, moving head, are great for the big professional ones because they're all preset. Ours aren't preset, we're just using cheap Chinese, I say cheap, but they're actually very good DMX lights. So we're going to go to general, and we'll create a little light just there, and we're going to call this moving head, and this will be on the right hand side. That is because I know that the channel number 1 on the controller is plugged into the moving head on the right hand side of the on the floor. So channel 1 is plugged into the moving head, so that's why I know it's number 1. Now if you remember, in the instruction booklet it had the amount of channels that those lights had, so I remember from that we've got 9 channels on ours. And we can automatically set here some of the basic controls. So channel for the red was actually on channel 4, the green was on 5, the blue was on 6, and the white was on 7. But we do need to set the other channels as to what they are, which we'll do that in a second. Next box down is no controller, so we need to tell it where it's going to go to. So we change it to use start controller, and then where it says start channel down here, there's some dots, we click on that. Our start channel is channel 1. This is the channel of the DMX, not the DMX universe. We can set the universe here where it says universe number, and we give it the IP of the controller, and because this is the first output from the controller, it is number 1. Honestly, this will become clearer as we go through. Press OK, and the last thing we need to do is where it says strand node names, we can click on that, and we've got this box coming up here with the node names at the top. Click generate node names and it will automatically put the red, green, blue and white in for you. Now we just need to add the rest of the channels. So number 1 was the pan, number 2 was a tilt, number 3 was the strobe, 8 was the movement speed. Remember, that's the speed of the heads as it moves on the tilt or the pan, and number 9 was the reset. Okay, so we'll save that, and then we need to add the next one. So the next one next to it is a floor light, so we'll just add the DMX just the same, go to the top, and we'll call this floor light, and this is also on the right hand side. Number of channels for our floor light, remember this is a standard DMX, was actually 7, and we can set the channels as they are set in the book. So the red channel is number 3, the green channel is number 4, blue channel is number 5, and the white channel is number 6. Okay, go back to controller again, and we use start channel, and where it says where the start channel is, let's do the little dots at the side. Now this is the second universe, so we're going to start at number 1 because it's the start of the second universe. The universe number we set here, IP number, and this is output number 2. Okay, so remember the first one was number 1, this is number 2 of the output of the controller, and each output, the start channel or the DMX, which don't forget is 512, is starting at number 1. Press OK. Go to strands and nodes, click the little box at the side, generate node names, so they put those in, and we just need to add the other channel. So number 1 was master fade, number 2 is strobe, and then it's added those in, and number 4, remember on this particular one, number 7, on this particular one it has some like built-in fade effects, so we'll just call that auto mix. I don't think we'll actually use those anyway, we'll use all these channels at the top, but we'll just put it in anyway. Press OK, and then that's the other. So we've got a moving head right, we've got a floor light right, and we'll just now need to add the other 2. So the next one is the floor light left, and it's going to sound really complicated this, but I'm going back to front only because it's the easiest thing to do. So just floor light left, and on channels, and number is on 3 green, 4 blue, 5 white, 6 channel, okay, so that's got all the lights set up, so we have to make sure that we press save. Next thing we need to do is create a little sequence so we can test the lights. Right, okay, let's go to the sequencer next. And we're going to create a new sequence, so let's go to the new sequence. We're just going to do an animation for the time being. I recommend using 40 for the time being, and we're going to use quick start, and it's going to add all the models for us, so nice and easy. And there's put in the lights for us on there. Okay, so next thing we need to do is actually get the lights to do something. So across the top here you've got various effects. The one that we want is the one that says DMX, so let's click on that. Keep the button pressed and drag and drop it onto the line there. We're just going to extend it. There we go. And as you can see here on the left hand side, it's got the pan and the tilt, strobe, the red, the green, and you can see on this side, as we change the channels, it does actually change the colour on there as well, so you can see what the colours are. Obviously it doesn't show you the pan and the tilt, but it does give you a graph as to how far it goes over. I think the next thing we need to do is get the camera set up on the lights so you can see what's happening as I'm moving the channels. So bear with me for a moment, I shall be back in a second.
A few moments later.
Okay, so we've got the lights switched on now. You should be able to see them on the screen. And what we're going to do, we're just going to click on the actual time bar just here in the middle. So that means just telling the computer that we're going to be working on this particular channel. And then we switch the XLights output on, and then we do that by clicking the little bulb at the top here. Okay, and if you can see on the controller, it's now starting to flash, so it's now receiving the information, it's receiving ArtNet. So let's have a go then. Let's move the pan first of all. So as you can see, the head of the light is turning. I do apologise if my voice is changing because I'm turning my head at the same time. Okay, so that's the pan and the tilt. Okay, and the other channels, the strobe, so that's obviously you see that when the lights are on, but on this particular one the strobe has to be on 255 for the colours to actually show, which is permanently on. So let's go for red and green, blue, white. Okay, so let's have a look at moving speed. So as you can see at the moment, if I go to tilt, see how fast that moves. If I push that right over, it's quite fast. So if I use the moving speed here, if I turn that right up to 255 and I do the same thing on the tilt, you'll see how really slow it actually moves, and that's the move speed of the head. I'll move that back again. Okay, so now we've got that working, let's have a look at the other channels. So we'll do exactly the same thing. We'll pick up DMX and we'll go for one of the floor lights now. Just open it up so it's easy to look at. Click on it so the computer knows that we're looking at this. And okay, so there it is. It's got the same for some reason. I don't know why it carries that over. So we've got reset. There we go. Okay, so master fade, that has to be on full pelt. Strobe we'll leave off for the time being, and red comes up just there, and green, and blue, and white. And if you wanted to use some of the auto channels, they're in there, look, but we're not going to use those. If you want to have a look at the strobe, by the way, just a warning that the strobe is going to come on if you're sensitive, so be careful. Strobe is on now, and strobe is off now. Okay, so that gives us these two channels here that we've got set up. And then you can change this around and you can add effects, which I'll do towards the end of the video, but that's showing that these two are connected. I'm just going to do exactly the same for the other two lights as well. Okay, so we've tested all those. Obviously the slight technical, what do we call it these days? Cock-up, that was it. So the slight technical cock-up from mine is that on the moving head I forgot to put the strobe up to full, so the lights came on, so that's why they never came on from the start. Anyway, that's all those working, that's all those done. So what else can we do with this? Well, the good thing about XLights is that you can have a play about with things. So I'm just going to very briefly just move these around slightly, and we're going to show you how this very quickly can actually work. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to have the moving head first of all, so that's going to go up there, and it's going to put the red on with a little bit of blue as well, so that's going to go up there like so, and then this one is going to be let's get a bit of white on that one. This one we're going to have a bit of green on that one, and then this one here we'll add the tilt up there a little bit, and then we'll have a little bit of blue on there as well. Okay, so what's going to happen now? So we'll press the stop button at the top, and if we press play, you'll see a play line goes across here, and as the play line goes across, then you can see what happens with the lights. So here we go. Right, so there we go. It wasn't fantastic, I admit, but as you can see, the lights do change as the play line goes across, and that's how you make up some of these fantastic effects when you have sound to light and you have the lights flashing to the beat of the music. Let's just turn off the output now, so that's now off. Right, we're back on the bench again. So I wanted just to very quickly show you on the SmartShow Pro-One. Earlier on in the video I talked about the cables, the DMX cables, and making sure that you're using the plus and ground, or the plus and minus and the ground correctly, because some people say that you can use microphone cables, but in this instance I would advise against it, and this is the reason why. In here you've got your positive and ground for the actual controller itself, but don't forget you can power it up via the USB at the side here. Okay, but also you need to know on the cabling for the DMX cables. So let me find something to point with. That will do. Here's something to point with. So for A and B, which is here, this is your DMX1 channel, and your A is plus and your B is negative, and the ground is there. Your C and D is C is plus, D is negative, and your ground is there. Your E is positive, your F is negative, and your ground is there. And your G is positive, your H is positive, and your ground is there. Now also don't forget that the two grounds here are connected, so you can output from one, and like I did, I use a bus bar, but you can use the two grounds here for the different channels. That's absolutely fine. So that is the controller in DMX mode. Now at the end of the video I've got a little demonstration. It is a little demonstration, and please don't judge me by it, because I'm not very good at this sort of thing, but it gives you an idea of using XLights, and it uses the SmartShow Pro-One. I'm using all 8 lights, and I'll tell you what I'll do is I'll do you a very quick explanation of the actual lights that I'm using in the demo at the end. I'm using 8 lights, but don't forget we've got 4 outputs here. So what I've done is I've connected 2 lights to each channel output, and I'm using DMX 0 for the first light and DMX 20 for the second light. I'll do a very quick explanation of that as well, so hang on a second. Right, here we are on the floor, and there's the connections that go into the controller, and there's the bus bar that I've got in the grounds connected to. So what I've got is I've got a light here, and as you can see, the cable comes in the top and then daisy chains out to the next light, which is there. And I've got two lights connected into one channel there, DMX 0 and DMX 20. Two lights connected there, which is the same, DMX 0 and DMX 20. Two moving heads, which are there, and two moving heads, which are there. So that's the 8 lights that I'm going to use in the demo at the end of the video. Right, and that's it for this video. That is the SmartShow Pro-One in DMX mode, with the connections on the end, and we've used this to control 8 lights using the 4 channels. Obviously DMX you can use a lot more depending on the lights that you've got, but in the demo that I've done, I've only used 8 lights, sorry. In the next video, which is the third one, we'll be connecting this up to some WS2812s, and I've also purchased one of these. Now, I've not used these before. These are slightly different. These are, I can't remember what they are now, WS2801 I think it is. And the difference with these, which I've never used, is they have 5 volts at the top, they have a clock, CK, which is clock, then they have the data, and then they have the ground, which I've never used these. Obviously you can see that the chip is on the outside, whereas, have I got some handy? No, I haven't. Some 2812s have the chip actually on the LED itself. So this is completely new to me, but I'm going to use these with 2812s and show you a demo using ArtNet. So if you like what I do, please give me a thumbs up, and also don't forget, all this talking is making my throat dry, so if you want to buy me coffee, the link is below as well. Thanks a lot. Please subscribe and stay tuned for the little demo at the end. Catch you soon. Thanks for watching.